Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Master Mode Korok Seed Challenge. Today we are breaking into the next 20 seeds, which takes us through 200. So feel free to leave a like on the video if you're enjoying this content, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, as that subscription is free and easy. So let's have a look at the seeds in today's video. The first seed that we're looking at is a quite difficult puzzle, not because of the nature of the puzzle type, but rather where these balloons are actually located. So that first balloon is hidden behind a little leaf there back behind, and then the second one is off in the distance underneath a tree, but the last one is actually down at a point where you can't even see it. And you do need to just pop the balloons, and I found the best way to do that for some of the closer ones is just throw a bomb at it. As a matter of fact, that's really the best method I found for that one down below, as you really can't get a good shot on it with a bow. The second seed, or seed 202, is another balloon. This one's just chilling underneath a leaf, similar to what we saw with our last puzzle, but this is just at the top of a tree here, and I'm carefully pondering the different bows that I have in my arsenal, because I don't want to use too strong of a bow in collecting these seeds, where I can use those to hunt down different enemies that I might encounter across the way. Now this seed is a nice little flower puzzle that you can follow across the river. And the reason I was adjusting my shields just there is off to the left in Master Mode there is a little bokoblin tower that actually hosts a really nice shield there, and the bokoblin defending it is wielding bomb arrows, so you want to take that out before following the flower trail across the river. Seed 204 is a fairy light trail that's zipping around this little low-hanging bog area, and it tends to do a big oval type pattern, so if you just kind of get your way ahead of it, you should be able to track down that fairy light pretty easy and grab the Korok seed from this little guy here. Now the next seed is actually a fairy light puzzle as well, and as it just so happens, it was hanging out here for a minute, and I must have managed to just grab it before it took off again, which was much appreciated because it took all the stamina that I had at my disposal to get up that cliff face, and I didn't want to have to chase this one down. Seed number 206 is a climbing puzzle, and though I think we've seen these time trials before, I don't know that we've seen them quite to this extent where it's a straight-up vertical climb. I mean, at least initially. We've seen some of them where there is a climb required. Now, it's pretty straightforward in terms of what's required, and there are some nice little areas that are made available to you as you make your way up this rock cliff. So even on some pretty limited stamina, you can reach the end puzzle and grab the seed from this spot pretty easily. Now, you do want to be a little bit careful as you're coming off of this if you're going up, because there is a Lionel on the cliff right above you. Now, this seed, seed 207, is in the middle of this little lake here, and it's a seed puzzle that we honestly haven't seen, I don't think, since the first or second episode, where there's a little magnesis ball on a chain. And there's a couple of different styles of these puzzles. This one in particular wants you to put this little magnesis block into the very center of this pedestal, and as long as you drop it in there, you're going to grab the Korok seed from this spot pretty easily. Most other ones that I've seen have either been based around wells or tree stumps, but this was a nice little change to that standard formula. Seed number 208 is similar to the puzzles that we saw out in the desert with the cacti and the volt fruit, but the difference here is they are actually hardy durian trees. And you'll want to grab as many durians off of these as you can, but before you just grab them willy-nilly, go ahead and climb up this tree here, and you'll want to remove the fruit from this outermost branch and then this sidemost branch, so the durians remaining match the ones on the other two trees. But do take a moment and grab the other two durians, or the other three durians from those trees, as you're going to need them for a couple more puzzles in this forest jungle area. Now, seed number 209 is actually a little fun puzzle, as it's a magnet block puzzle, but the magnet block itself is out in the middle of this lake. So you're going to need to use a combination of cryonis and magnesis in order to grab that block in order to complete out the puzzle. And one of the infuriating things about the jungle biome in particular is it rains constantly and thunderstorms are running rampant. So make sure that you de-equip any of your weapons that would cause you to get struck by lightning, as that's not a fun time at all. As a matter of fact, the nature of the challenge that we're doing is it would be a one-hit kill, no questions asked. But as soon as you fish that block out of the water and get it onto the shore, the puzzle itself is pretty straightforward, as it's just atop the T structure on the left-handmost puzzle to make it mirror the one to the lower right. These magnesis block puzzles have varying amounts of difficulty. I've found that they are either difficult puzzles in and of themselves that take a little more analysis, or difficult in tracking down the actual magnesis block. Now, seed number 110 is a luminous stone that is actually up in the eye of this little statue, and you'll want to just knock that out. If it weren't raining, you could probably come down onto the head of the statue and just kind of collect it out of the eye, but you can also just use your bow and shoot it out like I did, and that'll work just fine. Seed number 211 is another balloon puzzle, and these ones are really easy. They don't pop in and out, they don't move, they're just a little bit further of shots than what some of the other shots that we've seen have been. So you're just going to need to maybe do a little trial and error to compensate for some distance on these, but they're relatively easy in regards to actually hitting because they don't move, and as long as you're in proximity of the pinwheel, you're not going to have a problem getting them to populate in for you. Now, seed number 112 of our little adventure here is actually atop this stable, and we've seen Koroks hidden at stables before, but this one in particular is a little leaf beard hanging out down below the chin of the horse thing that's up on the stadium, so you'll just want to shoot it with something that is burning. The best way to do that is to just use a flame arrow, as you may not get it to catch on fire by just lighting an arrow, but you may be able to. It's just a lot easier and quicker if you just throw a fire arrow up at it. But seed number 113 is really easy. It's just in the middle of this bog, and thankfully you can use Cryonis to hop your way over to it and complete that puzzle. And you'll just want to, give this guy some protection if you'll have it from you. I guess it wasn't as successful as the one that we saw last week. Now, seed 114 goes back to what I'd mentioned with those durians that you'll want to have handy in your inventory, because you'll need to offer up a durian to this large jungle leaf in front of this pillar. Though if you don't have any durians from previously, the area that you're in will allow you to collect them from where you're at. And that's the same for seed 215, except instead of being a hardy durian, it is some mighty bananas. You should have mighty bananas from the Gerudo Desert if you've been out that way, but like the last puzzle, there are mighty bananas hanging out around this little pedestal if you do need to grab them from there. Now, shortly above that last seed, there is a solitary rock hanging out next to this enemy encampment, and you'll just want to lift that off of his head to collect the seed from him. And I feel bad for this guy because now he's out in the open, so I wanted to drop this rock back down to provide him with some cover as I, ran away to the next area that we're looking at, but didn't want to stay on top of him, so I honestly hope that he does okay despite these enemies being around here. And we'll glide off to the next location, which is for seed number 217. This one is a lot of fun, actually. It's made a little more difficult by the presence of some bokoblins on these rafts down here in the Master Mode difficulty. But honestly, what you're going to need to do is you're going to want to walk your way down this waterfall with some Cryonis, because the magnet block that you're going to need for this magnesis is hiding on a little cliff down below this water, back behind this waterfall, and you'll need that to complete the puzzle off to the right-hand side here. Now, I took a brief moment to use my bomb rune in order to knock the bokoblins off of their little platforms here, as you really don't want to be dealing with those guys if you don't have to, because they're a nuisance. But with some well placement, you can actually go ahead and complete that puzzle from over here instead of needing to drop down to the ground in order to finish it out, which is pretty nice, and I'm all a fan for minimizing the amount of movement that we need to do to finish out these puzzles. Seed number 218 is similar, yet slightly different to some of the other puzzles that we've seen using these hardy durians. And this one, the only difference is there's an adjoining statue that already has a hardy durian placed down on it, so you'll just need to make the statue on the right mimic the one on the left as you get that set up. Seed number 219 threw me for a little bit of a loop. It's similar to the puzzle that we saw just a moment ago, but the difference is here that the magnesis block is not hiding behind the waterfall, but rather on a ledge on the opposite side of the waterfall from where the puzzle you need to complete is. Now, I thought initially that this block needed to go up underneath this lip, as that would appear to make it match the puzzle that is on the left. But eventually I took a second look at it, and though that would make it match, it would also make it match the mirror way. So I figured, hey, let's try just popping it onto the left-hand side here, as that'll probably be a little easier in terms of plopping it in place. And sure enough, that's what the puzzle required. So we went ahead and threw it in to get the seed from this spot. And last but not least, seed number 220 is another rock on a ledge, and this one is over some enemies that are camped out on some rafts down below. So just make sure that you have a way of getting out of here when you come around to collect this seed. And it rains a lot in here, so you might just need to get creative with how you leave. So while I work on that and try and figure out how we're going to continue with this challenge, we will kind of pick up with wherever the aftermath of that is next week. But thanks again for watching. Again, if you're enjoying this series, feel free to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, as that subscription is free and easy. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and you have yourself a fantastic rest of your day.